Good day, everybody, and welcome to Comics Cube's Bag It or Slab It, the review show where two comic geeks go over and talk about some of the comics they read this week. We invite you to join in on the comments, which are now turned on. You feel free to take part in this as much as like. I am Shawn Hilton, owner of Comics Cube, founder of the Kokomo Con. I'm involved in a handful of other geeky projects that keep me interested and moving right along. And I am joined today by my good friend, Edward Gibson III, who puts together all
Hi,
our
everybody.
stuff for us.
I do all the
Ed,
behind the scenes.
You keep your geek card strong this week, my friend? This last couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, these last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of books come through, and I was tempted to throw them all on those slides, be like, "This is what I read," but it's like, no, let's pare it down. I can't have my slide looking like yours.
It all
I was gonna say,
I'm adding it all. So if I read it went up there. So,
yeah, I think we've had we had Kokomo Con, we had some days at the store where we were sorting. Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of geekery.
So we've taken a couple weeks off, and we've realized that the only adults can keep to a schedule of it's going to always be this day at this time. We're all just far too busy. In fact, Nick couldn't even get a chance to join us tonight. He's not read anything just yet, so he's catching up. He's got 3 kids out of school, so I imagine a lot of his life is coming home from work and then catching up with 3 grade school kids that want his attention. So he'll be joining us again here in the very near future, though. And I know, we got to get to him reading some books. So he's got to find a moment to chill and sit down, have his coffee, read a couple of comics. So
that's how I usually try to do it over the summer.
I go out to my porch about 7 in the morning because my wife gets up, gets ready for work, and I wake up and I'm like, well, I'm up. I don't really go back to bed unless I'm ill. I'm not going back to bed for the most part. So when I'm up, and I grab a book. And it's been for me for the last month or so, it's been Star Slayer, which is a 1982-83 book that went through about 1986 by the time it finished up. And that has been my old catch-up book that I've been doing now. So finally finished it. It was 34 issues, 5 different artists, 2 different writers. Mike Grell started it off with a Celtic barbarian being transported into a sci-fi world of spaceships, laser guns, and that kind of nonsense. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was very uneven. John Ostrander takes over the reins of writing around issue 8. I love John Ostrander. The concept itself is perfect 80s kind of quiche, funky, weird stuff. So, Celtic barbarian. He's got a cybernetic robot monkey that is like translator, and they've got a sci-fi connection. So everything that he hears and sees gets translated and taken care of, and that's how they explain how the guy who can't speak a modern language can understand all the sci-fi stuff. So
of course,
and then throughout it, it's got the first appearance of the Rocketeer. The first appearance of Grimjack is in the backup story. And then the third backup story, the one that went the longest, was something called like the Blue Flame. And the Blue Flame was just god-awful horrible. It is by far the worst part of this book because when I do this deal where I do this like deep dive and read these old books, the idea is it's a time capsule. I read everything. I read every letter. I look at all of the ads and not just like look at them and then flip the page. Like I really look over the ads. I read letters pages. I read editorial. And so that means I have to read the backup story. Star Slayer is pretty good, but was uneven with bits of it being good and bad. Rocketeer is amazing. The Grimjack run in the background was at times better than the main story in Star Slayer. Soon as you got to this Blue Flame crap, oh man, I won't lie. There was pages where I'm like, I am literally just going to read the words and just like get through it as fast as possible. It's so bad. They did this one long storyline, and then they did like a 5-year later thing after they finished up that storyline. And it was only 2 issues, 2 chapters in that. And that was actually pretty good. Kind of wrapped it all up afterwards. But overall, it's one of those deals where I've read it. Would I keep it in the collection? The truth is, if it wasn't for the fact that the first Rocketeer and the first Grimjack appearances are in there, I would not keep it in the collection. I might keep the first 8 issues because that was the storyline that Mike Grell wrote and drew before he got off of it. So I'm gonna have to like really think about this one, because if I've already got him in the collection, if I have the first appearances, then I will keep those. But otherwise, I'm gonna keep it a set. But it's a set I'm never going to reread. You know,
I was gonna say, is it worth tracking down those first appearances or one
well, right now I have them.
And then right? But I'm saying if you want to get rid of it, but you're like, oh, but I want the first Rocketeer. Like, okay, I need to find a first Rocketeer.
Yes.
In those backups, and I'm going to sell. Here's a complete Star Slayer 1 through what was it? You said 30s,
34 issues. So yeah, so I'll figure out, because like I did this last winter with Further Adventures of Indiana Jones,
right?
And I happily kept those. Like that's not going anywhere. That is something that if I live long enough, I would reread, and I would recommend other people reread it. I don't necessarily recommend anybody reread Star Slayer. Maybe, you know what, if you're going to do it, read it through the Grimjack backups, and then maybe peace out on that book. So once again,
are you going to switch over and read Grimjack now and go track those down?
Well, I've got to decide. Right now, I'm doing another first book. This started as a Pacific book, and then around issue 8 or 9 became a first book. First did a series called Crossroads, which was a 5-issue prestige format Baxter paper thing. And the first issue was John Sable meets Whisper, who was a female ninja character. And then the next issue is John Sable meets the Badger. Love the Badger. I've never read that series. They're only connected in the fact that one character from the previous issue seems to go into the next issue. So then the third issue is the Badger meets a character from American Flag. So there's 2 Badger stories in there, and they are classic Badger style shenanigans and silliness. So that I was happy to have read, but they're not great. Like, again, this is another one where I'll have to decide. It's only 5, so I might hold on to the series. But again, like the first one, I would never reread. The 2 Badger stories I might reread. The second Badger story wasn't even written by Mike Barron, who's the creator and wrote the first one of the crossovers. The second one was actually better. So I'm like, man, that's a tough one. So we'll see how it goes. But I've only got 1 issue left, so that'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, before I go and sell new comics, I will read the last of the Crossroads. But again, there's no real connection other than just characters are crossing over. So after that, yes, then I have to make the decision of what I am going to choose as my next reread. I like to keep stuff between 20 and 30 something because it takes about a month to read it, and it feels like enough that I've accomplished something. But I also don't feel like if 150 issues, that's a hell of an investment. One, I got to put the book somewhere. You know, it's like with Star Slayer, I literally just pulled out 34 issues, put them on a little table in the room, and would put the next issue on the bottom. Like I'd read it, put the issue on the bottom. So now I'm done. The first issue's on top. They're back in order. Not a problem. So I got some decisions. Grimjack is in there. Warlord is in there, but Warlord went like 150 issues.
And you've got 3 or 4 copies of each issue. I for a fact know you have.
I thought about rereading James Robinson's Starman. That's 80 issues, so that'd be a little over 2 months.
You've got the hardcovers for that, where you can just pull them out.
They have the omnibuses, and now there's like a super omnibus. I think two of these super omnibuses or something is the entire series. So
I remember when you got that in, I would just be so afraid that if you were to open that up, like that spine is just going to eventually snap in half. I mean, it really was like so thick that we couldn't get it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Without going, okay, slide it all the way in this way. It's not going to fit.
It's crazy big. That Crossroads book, the crossover from first, was on Baxter paper with that square bound format. Well, those books came out in like 1988. So as I'm opening them, you're just opening up those glued pages, and you heard it crack. Every one. You just hear, if you want to read it instead of like, trying to flip the page and read it like this. But I was like, no, I'm reading these. This is the whole point. So you just heard those spines there and just crack. And I'm like, well, that's life. So yeah. All right, let's get it. That was a long time of my effort there to read all that stuff. So I wanted to talk.
It paid off.
Yeah. The Star Slayer, as I said, wasn't bad. It has an ending, but you could tell like it got canceled, but they finished it. So it's one of those deals where your series got canceled. You got the ending, but you could tell like it wasn't it was wrapped up pretty damn quick.
So. Yeah, like they were told maybe with 2 or 3 issues, like this is it. Hurry up.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got closure. Like there wasn't, but like a main character disappears into another dimension like 3 or 4 issues ago, kind of thing. You know that either they're going to find her or you're going to find out she's dead. And it was the love interest to Starslayer. And no, we didn't have time for that when we wrapped it all up. So this chick who's been in the book for quite some time and had become his love interest, she's just kind of gone.
Oh, I almost wonder if that wouldn't have gotten picked up in, say, like Grimjack or something like that, where
it would have been funny if it had gone to being a backup story in
Grimjack. Yeah,
they switched. I would have probably checked that out. Actually, that might have been better. But yeah. So all right, what was on your reading? What we got some stuff.
Let's take a look here.
Let's add it to the stream. Boom! Our pick of the week from Aftershock.
Yeah. We took a look at A Calculated Man, which is your basic witness protection hitman kind of thing. You know, I know you said you got to read about the first third of the book.
Yes, I wasn't able to knock this one out.
This cop is giving a rundown. Well, to his replacement. He's like on the verge of retiring. This is his big case that he's never fully, finished with a bow. And you find out that this man, like he was the accountant for this big crime family, but was one of those kind of, perfect memory, could calculate everything, and like he saw and heard and understood everything going on around him.
I want to
remembered it all.
The whole numbers are colors.
Yeah,
like sensory thing where he sees numbers as colors or something.
Yeah, like he sees certain ones and he sees the patterns. Like they've got a page where it's like him walking down the street. He immediately is like, I saw this person 8 months ago at a bakery ordering a brownie and a this, and now they're driving at approximately 17.5 miles an hour and he just like goes on and on. And it's basically like he's decided that like he's been found in witness protection, but he's not going to be an easy target. He's going to make sure that if they want to come and get him, they're going to have to do a lot of work. And he's like, my brain is my most dangerous tool, and I'm going to show you why. It was an interesting read. The art was a little it was good art. It just almost didn't fit the style of the story at times. Okay. Sometimes a little a little bit more cartoony or over exaggerated in some of the faces for what I expected from like a mafia crime story kind of thing. So, but I mean, I'd be interested to see, like, I kind of want to see what he does in at least one more issue. I don't know if it's an ongoing or if it's a mini series since it's from Aftershock.
Aftershock is all mini series. I don't think they have a single ongoing series. So I would imagine this is 4 issues, 4, maybe 5.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to take a look at a second and see where it lands. Not sure if I'd finish it all up or just wait until it's maybe collected.
I like Aftershock's material quite a bit, and I sat down to start reading this, and we just got busy at the store. I had to put it down. I read quite a few books in the interim of our hiatus, but Aftershock books typically go to the top of my list. But unfortunately, this was one of those deals where I started reading it literally in my store, and that sometimes ends with me just having to put it down, and I get busy or realize, I got too much work to do. But yeah, the stuff I saw, the art I thought was a little, my keyword for the day, I guess, is inconsistent. It just seemed like it was a little all over the place. It wasn't bad, but yeah, some areas would be like, oh, okay. And then other areas I'm like, were you rushing it? Is this your style?
Right.
I'm not really sure.
It reminds me of the art. Like, I love the art in Kaiju Score where it's it's weird, overly, exaggerated corners and features, but like that's the style throughout that book. Like in both series. And this, it was like some panels were kind of like that, and then others were, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. And so, yeah, it just seemed like, well, what's the angle here? It was one that I picked up for the show, and I think I actually put it on the bottom of my stack, like, I got to get to this kind of thing. And then I was pleasantly surprised by the end of it because I had no clue what this was going to be about until I was 10 pages in. And I'm like, oh, I see what we're doing here. Like, we're doing the classic, I'm more deadly than you realize, and you found me in my secret past. But he's got this fun, I can't lie. Like, that's his thing.
Okay.
He physically cannot lie. So when people ask him questions, he has to tell the truth. And Aftershock does a fun thing with like backups. And he's got like text messages, like he's on like some dating app. And as he's like as he's matching with people, and they're asking him, like, he can't say what he does. If they ask him, like, why do you live in so-and-so town? He would flat out have to say, because I'm in witness protection and my real name is this. Like, so it's kind of funny seeing his texts and interactions. So
that's cool. Yeah, I got just from the background of this, I kind of got the Ben Affleck, the Professional, or whatever it was called, movie vibe. so yes, seems like your typical, the accountant for the mob, who's a bit of a savant, goes in, and now he's tired of running. And if you want to come for me, I'm gonna do something about it. So I'll definitely check it out and finish it up here in the near future. All right, let's see.
We got your list next here.
Moving right along. Well, again, we read a lot of Star Slayer. I was reading one a day. I left for Origins on Tuesday. That morning I read one. And then I got back on Sunday, and Monday I picked up and finished the last couple of issues. And then the Crossroads, I'm actually issues 3 and 4. You should have been added to that. So, again, both of those have kind of been all over the place. Savage Avengers. One, we now know that Marvel has lost the rights to Conan. It's up in the air whether this book is going to continue. You've got a very strange team of Conan, Cloak and Dagger, Elektra Daredevil, Black Knight, characters like that.
Is it the new Black Knight, like his daughter?
No,
or is it actually Dane Whitman?
I believe it's Dane.
Okay.
I have to look at really close at the art to make sure. They don't give me his pronouns or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's Dane. So it, again, maybe I'm just being harsh, but they've already done Savage Avengers once. This is its second time around, and the originality of Conan being mixed in with our traditional Marvel superheroes now, for me, has lost its luster, especially when you got King Conan, which has just been so damn good.
Yeah.
That I just don't.
And there's only one issue of that left. I mean, when that issue comes out, I believe that's the end of Marvel. Done. We have nothing else.
Nothing's in the can. Nothing's lined up. This other company will hopefully jump on very quickly. That's going to be this thing's going to upset me, is if this other company that's going to do Conan doesn't already have like books in the can. But I don't think I've seen, to have it done, they'd have to have already solicited it. And unless I'm going to do the order form this week, it's due Thursday, unless there's a solicit for a new Conan book, and I would have thought they would have pulled for the cover preview, it's not in there. So you're still getting the Ablaze, which is the European book called Sumerian. So if you're looking for a Conan fix, it's out there, and that is a damn good book. But that Marvel King Conan, man, that was just a solid read. Really, really good stuff. Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty #1. Did you read that?
No, I didn't. I actually realized I didn't grab it, and I wanted to get that one because that's the one where, if I recall, that's the Steve Rogers book, right?
Yes, this is Steve Rogers, and you're getting the idea that there is a conspiracy behind the Shield.
Right. All the preview stuff led to believe National Treasure with Steve Rogers. Like, I'm on the hunt for secret messages in my Shield type of deal. Yep. And I'm like, and I've heard it compared to, like, if you liked Ed Brubaker's run, this might be the Captain America run that you want to look at. And I'm like, well, I loved Ed Brubaker's Cap. I might have to go back in this week and pick up.
I thought it was a solid read. I thought it was really good. You got a lot of your Captain America. You got the Steve Rogers feel. It didn't feel like a political agenda was being shoved down my throat. That has been a complaint with some of the Captain America books over the last year or two, is that the politics are a little too heavy. Now, I'll point out it's a book called Captain America, so I don't know, but people seem to be upset with some of it. This teams to get back to a more traditional role. Cap is known in the world. Steve Rogers is not a secret identity. So there's some interesting stuff. He explains that the world's really down on Captain America right now after, evil Captain America, which I thought was a number of years ago, but it appears people are still upset with that and some other things that he's done. He's trying to get back to the people. He's got, when he goes and gets an apartment in Queens or whatever, and he's jogging with the Shield, but like as a civilian, so they can see him out there with the Shield. It's a little odd, but it was a good read. I like the art. I thought the whole thing was pretty well done. Astronaut Down #1. That's I believe it was an Image book, and it's some trippy, weird stuff. I don't know if that's gonna be everybody's cup of tea. The idea is that the astronauts are actually trying to like save the world before it's destroyed, and they're really jumping back into their former bodies or something from the past with the knowledge to try and fix whatever the problem is. And the different astronauts, and you die. Nobody comes back. Like, you know that going into this is a death sentence, and they're all vying for it. So it's really kind of trippy.
It's weird.
I mean, what's that?
That's weird.
It was not my cup of tea. I don't know, honestly, that unless I'm at the store and copies come in, I wouldn't be just picking it back up. It's definitely a pass for me. Sandman Nightmare Country continues to be a good, solid read. If you like the Sandman universe, if you like Chthonian, if you like the creepy, weird factor of a horror book set within Neil Gaiman's universe, you're getting all of that. They're doing a great job. Naomi Season 2, I'm really hoping this is a limited series because the first couple issues, I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. But now it's continuing to remain. It's not so bad, but it's also not so great. It's right in the middle. Jurassic League continues to be stupid and funny. And
I'm shocked you read that.
Now he's picked up. There's a boy, a human boy, because they're all dinosaurs. A human boy whose family has died, and now he is trying to hang out with whatever Batasaurus or whatever. So it's Robin. Robin is a human boy hanging out with Batasaurus, and Batasaurus is like, "Go away, kid. I don't want nothing to do with you." And then they meet up with Supersaurus, and Supersaurus can speak their language because Batasaurus can't.
Because he was raised by humans in the first issue.
He can speak to both of them. So it's funny and it's stupid and it's fun, and I really enjoyed it. What I didn't really enjoy was Iron Man 20, which was supposed to be this big celebration. He's proposing to Hellcat, and what a pile of trash.
Have you been reading it?
No, I've not read it. This is #20 is the first Iron Man I've read in years. But I saw the cover. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do the proposal. We're going to do a review. Might as well do, look into Hellcat. What's odd is just a couple of reboots ago, within the last 5 or 6 years, they brought in Mary Jane Watson to be like his new, I won't say girlfriend, but like.
She was like his assistant, basically.
Yeah. And now she's gone, and we bring in Hellcat, and I'm like, you got a type or something, Tony? Is there something we need to know about here? So it was a little weird. He proposes and she does. There's some good lines in there about, I was married to the son of Satan. I don't know that I'm ready to get back into another relationship. And I'm like, well, that was during the 70s and 80s, honey. You haven't been married for a really long time. I know people have been through 3 or 4 marriages at the time that it's taken you to figure this out. But the main story is about the fact that some sentient ape that Tony is somehow helped with is going to play a chess game against the new Stark computer. And that's like the main story. And the ape gets pissed off and starts a giant fight. Tony Stark / Iron Man is getting his ass beat by a sentient ape who really only wanted a job.
Is it one of the Red Ghosts apes, or is it
I don't
think
totally
different? Okay.
No, it's it was like some program I think that Tony and Stark came up with, Stark Industries or whatever. And so he's sentient. He's got an IQ of like 768 or something crazy like that. And so he really just wants him to give him a job as like a computer tech guy. And Tony's like, yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't know about that and all this other stuff. And the ape gets pissed off and there's a giant fight. It's Iron Man versus a highly intelligent ape that's pissed off that Tony won't take his resume. That is the actual story. So, yeah.
Sounds like right up my alley. I might have to go read that.
That's a little weird. Do a Powerbomb, new book from Image Comics, follows a young girl whose mother's like the champion of this particular wrestling thing. She dies in the ring, and now the little girl grows up 5 or 6 years later and is trying to reclaim mom's glory. Did you get a chance to read Grimm *2?
I did.
All right, what we can talk about then?
So this was, I think you and I briefly talked about this last week. But I don't think you've gotten to read it yet. This shifted completely from like the first issue to almost being like it had the remnants of the first issue, but then there's like a totally different plot.
They had the background characters. The theme was there. But yeah, the whole thing, she's death. She's one of many deaths that literally ferry you and hold you by the hand into the afterlife. And now it's gone from that to being...
They ditched like the whole idea of, oh my God, someone from the living saw and touched me, to being like, that was a background. Like, yeah, it happened, whatever, no big deal. We're mad that you lost your sight. So you're grounded for a week. And she and her friends break into like files and records to find out why she died.
Yeah,
she doesn't know.
Everybody else seems to know why they died or how they died. And she, for some reason, it's been kept from her. So obviously there's something going on. That's going to be the big breakout of this book. I just don't give a damn.
There's a cut to like a Dia de los Muertos scene where like another Grim Reaper kills like an entire town. Like all at once, he just like kills a whole town. And I was sitting there like, is that her death? Like, is one of these characters that it focused on right before he did that her? But then you see that same Reaper coming to like the central hub right after she's grounded. So I'm like, I think I'm now on like your guys' agreement that, okay, this is not a good book. Like, I don't know what story they're trying to tell here.
It's all over the place. And so I'm not even so sure that like the guy you're talking about is actually a Grim or a Reaper or whatever they want to, whatever they're calling themselves. I don't know if maybe that's supposed to be like Death Incarnate, if it's some other element. But the thing is like nothing makes it clear of what it is. It's just this figment of death that's going around wiping out like small towns and festivals, and heaven forbid you tried to, bake the best blueberry pie, because he might just show up and kill everybody. It was a little all over the place.
Yeah, it was a little all over. I think I'm going to be done with Grimm as of now.
Probably give it one more just to see if there's some focus that pops up. But yeah, it was one of those books that probably had the most going for it, that I was the most excited about. And then I'm just like left scratching my head, like, what the hell is going on here? I don't know. So Iron Fist number 4 continues to be okay. The first 3 issues I thought were really good. This is the first issue where I'm like, this felt like filler. This felt like you're trying to get to a 6-issue trade paperback and just had to fill 20 pages of comic space with filler. And I thought that was a little disappointing. Twig number 2 continues to be kind of a cute, funky, weird little image book about Blue Muppet going on an adventure with a snot thing as his buddy and backup, and only to find out that the thing that they're questing for, the person they've got to find, is dead. Now there's like a mystery, there's a murder. It's the whole thing is just really well done, I think, and I've enjoyed it. It's got a good level of funky fun to it that I've enjoyed so far. So yeah. That Texas Blood, great read. Just continues to be a great book. It's not going to sell well. I'll be surprised if after this it doesn't get canceled. I think the only way this book is continuing is if the writer and the artist have enough money in their pockets to just keep publishing it. But man, it's incredibly good drama. It's just a really good read. And this time they're definitely going in with some. The first one was kind of just a noir-esque kind of thing. Second one, we added a pseudo supernatural element to it. And now this time we're going with the crazy serial killer. And they haven't done that before. It hasn't been that outlandish. The first 2 storylines were pretty down to earth. Even the weird supernatural one was pretty down to earth, with almost like a Manson-like cult kind of a deal to it. Like, but this one seems to be like a Scream, Michael Myers screwed up serial killer. And that's not something they've done before. Little Monsters, if you're not reading it, well, at this point, you just don't like comics. You've made a choice. You've made a choice to just continue to avoid one of the best stand books out there. Strange 3, I haven't read Doctor Strange in a while, and I am loving Strange. One of the best versions. Clea is Sorcerer Supreme, and I'm all for it. I am not, every time they do something like this and people get pissy, I find it's a better story. Superior Spider-Man was better than Peter Parker Spider-Man. Jane Foster Thor was better than regular Thor, and now Clea Strange is better than Doctor Strange. And one of the reasons is because we had all 3 those characters since the 60s. You got all the time in the world to tell me Peter Parker stories and Doctor Strange stories and Thor stories. Now here's a chance for you to do a twist on all of those stories. And it turns out Clea is an absolute badass. She is a warlord.
I read the Death of Doctor Strange and the first issue of this, and I was actually like, okay, you know what? I very rarely read Doctor Strange. I could get behind reading Clea as Doctor Strange, and we all know that give it 2 years and Steven will be back somehow. I mean,
if it's even that long.
That's the arc of the first issue of her series where she's like, Wong, I'm bringing Steven back. Like that flat out. She goes, I'm bringing him back. But I did also love how she goes, no, screw you. I'm the Sorcerer Supreme on Earth and in the Dark Dimension. So Victor Von Doom, you know what to do. Like when he comes and goes, I'm the Sorcerer Supreme, she goes, no, fuck you. I'm Sorcerer Supreme in 2 dimensions.
You're just a
go
punk.
to hell.
And this, she rolls up on the Rose, who I think is a Amazing Spider-Man bad guy.
Okay, yeah, the gangster.
The funky white mask. Yeah, well, basically some gangsters are messing around with some stuff, and she wants information. And he's like, I'm going to hold out on you. And she goes, please do. Because, see, unlike all the other heroes around here, again, I come from a dimensional warlord. I'm more than happy to hurt you. This isn't going to be a thing where I'm going to like, oh, no, I can't use my powers.
She is not beholden to any Earth-type humanity code. She is just flat out like, I'm going to have to rip your guts out and tie your hands behind your back with them. All right, here we go.
Yep. Well, in this, there's a great little twist at the end. The Rose sets her up. And so the bad guys are waiting, and they've got a magical thing that takes all of the magic in the area out of the area for X amount of minutes. Okay. And they're like, all right. And then they're just loading up, machine guns and this crazy weaponry. And then they unload on her. And you see, like, she comes out of all the fog and crap with a ton of magic. And she goes, yep. That really sucked for all the Earth magic. And then just unleashes her dimension magic on everybody. So that was really good. Firepower. Image Comics start off so good, and now honestly it's just not going anywhere. This is Robert Kirkman, Walking Dead, amazing art, cool concept, but it seems like the concept just can't stay away from this little mystical area where they did the training initially, because they just seem to keep going back there. Now we've got a giant dragon attacking the world. What does the real world do when, oh crap, in China there's a dragon, just messing people up. Russia's militarizing the border. And I'm like, yeah, all right, Russia, good luck. America's, sitting over the, this and that and all this other stuff. So, and you got Samuel Jackson as a samurai that they need to team up with and some other nonsense. Yeah, it's very much like the Ultimates, where they introduce a samurai, the whole, wicker hat thing and all the samurai tropes. And it's just obviously, I was like, well, that's Samuel Jackson. Just straight up. So, the Closet.
The Closet was one that I think I picked up a week or two ago, and I was struggling to find something worth enjoying in that book. I'll be honest. And this is the one I think I told you or someone else, that a lot of these Image books feel like I walk into your office and I go, I got this idea for a book. Right? This kid thinks there's a monster in his closet, and his dad's just like going, don't worry, we're moving. It's no big deal. And you find out the monster's real and it's going to follow him. Great. Yeah. Where does this go in like 8 issues? No friggin' idea. But isn't that a great pitch? Absolutely. Yeah. Greenlight it. Let's make however many issues we can go. Like, I don't know where this goes. I don't know what this is going to do.
What it does is it gets optioned immediately, and then somebody makes their money. And that's what this is. That's what that felt like. It just felt like a horror movie option.
It's exactly what it felt like. And I, halfway through, I saw that's what it was. And I was like, why am I going to finish reading this? Oh, right. We're probably going to talk about it on the show. And it ended up being in one of our off weeks. And I was like, immediately hard pass.
Yeah, I agree. This is a pass. The dad is an asshole. We see no redeeming qualities in dad. Mom's put out as kind of a nagging force, but they get the dad's an asshole.
Right.
And,
she's like the only competent one in the family. I mean,
yeah, but she's not nice about it either. So the whole thing is just weird.
The day that they're supposed to be finishing packing, he spent how many, 6 hours in a bar looking for tape?
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah.
And he gets the wrong tape.
Yeah, the family's falling apart kind of deal. And it's just, it was not good.
Alice Ever After we're about to get to. And the Rocketeer 3, I think it's a 4-issue mini.
Yeah.
You know, they're constantly trying to recapture the Rocketeer, and I love the Rocketeer, and it's not bad, but it's no Dave Stevens. It's not the same thing.
Well, and it's Stephen Mooney who does the other book that we love, Half Past Danger, and this is his trope, and I think he's done 2, maybe 3 series with that, where he starts off really strong, and he's got that one issue that's just like, what is going on here? Like maybe they told him you need 5 issues, not 4.
Yeah.
And and so issue 4, he's just like, I got to come up with something. This feels like maybe he had a solid 3-issue arc, and they said, well, you're going to get 4. And he's like, okay. You know, it's this whole, you know, what is it? Kind of intercontinental race where they're just, whatever country can finish this great race first. And he decides to, you know, jet off to go save
Betty.
Yeah. And like, but I do like how he writes her as like, she doesn't need saving. I mean,
yeah,
not at all, but it's been good. I just don't see how he wraps up all the secrets that have been hinted at over 3 issues into the next one.
I don't know about that. I think they can put this to bed. We've seen enough. We know this 3rd issue, you see that the guy who created the experimental plane is he's going to sell out to the Nazis. He's going to take the money. He's going to set up Secord, the Rocketeer, as the fall guy. They, you know, kidnap Betty to get him to deliver to Berlin instead of going to France where the race is supposed to end. You see, you know, so you get all the tropes. He's saved Betty. He's got the plane. He's got the Rocketeer pack. He's got the helmet on. And now he's out to go stop the Baron, who's the number 1 draft pick kind of thing in the air race. And now, you know, he's finally figured out, wait a second, that guy's the Nazi.
Yeah, but I also like how he was going, I just have to get to Paris before him. It didn't say I had to be in the plane. So he's like taking off in the Rocketeer. You know, he's going to get there. It has been good. All it has really done for me is be like, okay, great, you did this. Where's my Half Past Danger 4 or whatever?
Yeah, let's get to Half Past Danger. I need
give me Half Past Danger.
Dinosaur and my sneaky Irish dude and my big dumb.
Because in the Christmas special, did you read the Christmas special?
Yeah.
Where Ichi gets like stabbed through the heart, like going home to Christmas. And I was like, well, you can't just leave us with one of the best characters in your series lying dead on his like home floor.
It appears you can. So we'll see how it goes. All righty.
I think next is 7 Sons.
All right. So this is the Jay Lee book that Image put out. And I particularly do like Jay Lee's artwork. But man, this was trippy. This was trippy to the point of like absurdity.
His art saved it. His art absolutely saved it. Because the concept is basically like these 7 potential messiahs were all born, you know, across the world, and this church rose up saying one of them is going to be the reincarnated Jesus, you know, and it's Ascension Day, Coronation Day, whatever. Like, and they think the only one that's left alive is going to have to be the one. And of course, you're following this bum throughout this whole thing, and it's very clear that like it's him, like he is going to be,
or it's not. What if he's the opposite?
Think so?
Well, I don't know. I think the big twist here would be he's not. He's the opposite version of it. But yes, what you're led to believe, because he like pulls himself out of the dirt or something. You know, it's not just some bum. He's like kind of doing the whole out of earth.
It looked like he pulled himself out of an alley. I wasn't. Maybe it's the downside to Jay Lee art, where sometimes like where a person is highly detailed, the background is just a mush. You know, the thing that I will say saved it for me, because I was kind of interested, is seeing it was a mini series. I was like, okay, there's going to be an end. Here we go. Unlike the Closet wasn't one of 5. Closet was number 1. Yeah. And it's going to go until they just run out of steam, which I think they did 5 pages in on Closet. Like, Seven Sons is going to end at issue 7. So to me, I'm like, I could be in for all 7 issues to see where does this go? Like, what do they do? But it did feel a little predictable in the, is this nobody that you're following around? Is he the, prophecy fulfiller? Is it going to be one of those is there going to be the Antichrist and the second coming at the same time? And we find out, it's a swap. I mean, who knows? But
I'm a pretty non-religious person. I'm pretty go with whatever. This book was blasphemous to a level that I was uncomfortable. It was showing
multiple religions too. The villains are like Islamic terrorists, and it felt very early 2000s to make the people who were killing all the potential, reincarnated second comings Islamic fundamentalist terrorists. I was like, this is a little, like, I don't know how you get away with that in 2022.
I was a little surprised, but then again, the whole thing is just so over the top. Like Vegas is the new Jerusalem or whatever they want to call it.
Right. They've converted it completely. But I will say, I think it takes place in like 96, 97. Like it's set in the early 90s. Yeah.
Okay. I got it. I just skipped over it or forgot it.
Yeah. It's one of those that's like set in it does some time jumps because you see how at least one of the 7 sons dies.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's some story issue elements to it. I'd like to see how it unfolds, but I'll give it at least 1 or 2, if not finish it up.
Yeah, we'll see on this one. As I said, I really like Jay Lee's artwork, but it's so trippy, so weird, so out there. The concept is just honestly a little uncomfortable even. The capitalism versus Christianity or whatever.
It hold of megachurch. I mean, it was mega churches to the max. Like this was like, hey,
mega church if it was like politics almost, and
right. Well, and that's you're right. They like took over basically all forms of capitalism in America. And it's like the only way you can watch the second coming is because it made a big deal about pay-per-view, live streaming only, $99.99. It was like, okay, but you know what? That's exactly what they would do. They would absolutely like pay to watch this happen.
Yeah, it's pretty out there. All righty. And then into your list.
So this was a smaller week for me. Dan Slott's Fantastic Four runs coming to an end with this Reckoning War. But I got to hand it over to that Art Adams, like Dr. Doom variant. Thank you very much for putting that one in my folder because that was an amazing Doom cover right there. I was like, great. I was like, I don't even need to read this. I just need the Doom cover.
That'd be a good poster.
X-Men Red #3. It wasn't on your list. What happened?
It is in my pile, but it's buried so low in that pile that I'm like, I'll get.
I loved it. You get this is a pure Magneto issue where Storm was like the focal point in the last one. This is all about Magneto. Like so, Vulcan challenges Tarn the Uncaring, who sits on Mars's like governing circle because Abigail Brand wants one of her people in there to start controlling what happens.
Sure.
Well, he gets beat pretty easily.
Vulcan does?
Yeah, he gets beat pretty easily because like they cancel out each other's powers. And so they're basically like hand-to-hand combat. And Tarn's kind of like he's the guy back there behind Magneto. I'm trying to think of what they are in Star Wars, like the Bib Fortuna. He's got the
okay, yes.
I don't want to call him tentacles, but like his head kind of comes down, and
they're like liqueur or something like that.
Yeah, well, his are like appendages, so he's able to use them like extra hands. And he's basically saying like, he goes, weapons that you bring into the arena are all fun, like full game. So he uses it, beats Vulcan, and he's like, is there any challenger? And so before all this, like Storm and Sunspot, Magneto, and the Great Fisher King were all talking about someone's got to go in and kill Tarn. And if anybody's going to do it, anybody has a chance, it's Magneto. And Magneto's like, I can't do this. Like, I just left the other council, blah, blah, blah. And they have this whole plan where like Sunspot comes up with a way to go, I guarantee you're going to win if you do this. So Magneto's dropping down, and Sunspot sits next to another of these Iraqi mutants called Iska the Unbeaten. Okay. Her mutant power is she does not lose.
Okay.
Period. She doesn't lose.
Gotcha.
Now, she can analyze the situation. Like she is like 1,000-0 in any kind of competition. And if she doesn't enter one, it's because she's calculated with her power that that's an unwinnable situation and I will not be part of it.
Okay.
So Sunspot sits next to her, and as Magneto's descending, he just looks right at her and he goes, I bet you Tarn wins. And so she's now forced by her power to bet the opposite and say he'll lose. So like they manipulate the system because she can't lose. But Magneto does this whole thing where he goes, oh, you said weapons are available. And he drops his helmet on top of Tarn's head before his powers can come back, crushes Tarn's head with his helmet. And I was just like, oh, that's the Bronze Age Magneto that used to just be like, I'm going to launch nukes at all these towns unless you give mutants whatever. And I was like, this was a great Magneto issue.
He was like, I want all of mutant student debt to be canceled, or I will launch the nukes.
He came in, and I mean it's definitely one of those like he's all repentant, sad Magneto in the beginning because he's like, don't make me do this, don't make me do this, and he finally is like, you're right, I'm the only one that can do this, and if I don't, all these Iraqi mutants are gonna like ruin everything. So we've got to maintain Mars that we made for all mutants, like do their thing.
Gotcha.
So I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's probably my second favorite X-Men book after Immortal X-Men right now.
Well, it's not saying much because they're all bad. So,
Wolverine.
I've stopped reading Marauders. I finally now I'm good.
Yeah, I think I talked Austin out of staying with Marauders. I was like, just don't even buy it.
They took me out of it. It was so good. It was a fun book, and so much more could have been done with it. And instead, you decided to go all Corsair and the Starjammers.
Yeah, again, and it's just not a good team either.
Yeah, no, I don't care about that. I mean, a good writer could probably, massage a good story out of that team, but I'm just not that interested.
You literally have all mutants at your disposal because there's no like, well, you can't have Pyro, he's a bad guy. No, they're on Krakoa, they're good. You want him on your team, you can have him, and they picked that team for Marauders, and I'm just like, that's what you wanted? Like that? All right. Bishop, Kitty, great. Quanon, okay, fine. I also want Daken and Aurora without North Star.
Yeah.
And I want Tempo. And I'm just like, okay. Wolverine 22 it's a Wolverine Deadpool. It's very like Weapon X team up kind of thing. It's fine it's not as tied into the Krakoa books as it was before, so I'm kind of falling off it a little bit, but we'll see. We're gonna get to Alice Ever After. We did Seven Sons and Calculated Man. West of Sundown 3 continues to be a fun kind of Hammer horror book.
I gotta say we sold out before I got a chance to read it.
You get the Frankenstein's monster and this Dracula's daughter or whatever going full battle in the middle of a town, and people just kind of accept like, yeah, all right, there's monsters, okay, no big deal. And this cult still is playing a big role, to the point where I almost wonder if it's like they're definitely a cult and he's got him under his thrall. I almost wonder if he's not like they're doing some kind of voodoo zombie thing with him where he can like control their minds.
Gotcha. I can see that.
And we talked about Grimm #2 there, so my book of the week was definitely X-Men Red. So
wow. All right.
Alice Ever After continues to be a pretty fun read. I really liked one little note about this one where in the margins of and in between panels you see the cats that are narrating it occasionally like playing with balls of yarn or like they've caught a mouse or something. Like there's little pictures in the margins like you might have seen from like I know Mad Magazine always did that. Like they'd have little drawings in the margins of their comics. Yeah, gutters. There you go. Yeah. So
this was by far the quickest Alice I've read. #3, it read fast. And not just because I read it right before the show. I mean, it read fast. It was a quick read. You get the origin finally. This explains why she's so strung out, what her problem is. It goes right back to what started it, the screwed up thing that made her a head case in the very beginning. It's some pretty dark stuff.
Yeah, I did not expect it to take that dark turn. Like because the whole deal is like her family's this well-respected, her dad's the royal dentist.
Yes.
Like, he gets called upon to do all kinds of things. He's the most sought after dentist. And you find out why, like, he became so good, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially for that time period. But it gets pretty dark, and like you said, the origin of why she's always needing, drugs, basically. What started it all. So I'm really enjoying this one. We're past the halfway mark. We'll see where it goes. This has been probably the biggest surprise fun book from like this whole show. I think we started reading it just for that. We were like, let's read this Alice Ever
I wouldn't be
After
reading
thing.
This if it wasn't for the show. I wouldn't continue reading this if it wasn't for this show.
I never would have.
Point out, it's 3 of 5. I just don't know where it's going. I don't know that there's any point in where it's going.
I could see this ending unhappily. I could see this ending very unhappily. Like with Alice. I could see it ending with Alice like permanently in Wonderland, but on a slab somewhere in this asylum. And she's just so strung out that she thinks she's living out her days. She's escaped. Like I
can see her frying her brain, or even having some surgery done that makes her, permanent resident.
But this was one, if you'd put it in my folder and we weren't doing this show, I'd have just looked at you and been like, what? Oh, I thought you might like it. Like, I'm going to pass. I would have easily put it right back on the counter, but I'm really glad, I gave that.
You got to listen to your comic guy. Maybe he knows what he's talking about a little bit.
He does. I mean, after 28 years of whatever I read, I mean, I think he knows.
Give me a little bit of trust. All right. That is our pile for this week. We've got more. I've got more waiting right around the corner for me to start diving into. Tomorrow I'll finish my Last of the Crossroads. And after that, you'll have to wait a week to see what it is that I come up with next for my next deep dive read. So we shall see. If you got some suggestions, I am interested in it. If anybody's got a run of Dynamo Joe, I want to check out Dynamo Joe. It's like a 1984 American giant robot book written by John Ostrander. And I've known about it for years, but the whole robot thing has never really interested me. And now I'm ready. I'm ready to try it. So we shall see. You know what? I haven't run a Shogun Warriors.
I've got to run a Shogun Warriors too, but
I've never read Shogun Warriors.
I want to finish. I started at the beginning of the pandemic, Godzilla, and then I actually put it off to the side.
Okay.
And I think they show. I know Red Ronin first shows up there, but I want to say they almost had them spin off from Godzilla in one issue. So I kind of want to finish Godzilla, then go to that.
How many issues was Godzilla?
I think Godzilla's 20, and I think Shonen, or maybe 24, and then Shogun Warriors is about 20 issues.
Yeah, I don't think it's much longer than that if it is.
So, because I did Champions and Supervillain team up at the start of the pandemic, and I like you, I want to go back. I've got plenty of bronze books that I want to okay, I've got the whole thing. Now let's read it. So I'm about to finish a novel probably tomorrow morning, and then this is my next
20
actual book read. So there we go. I'm going to get some more Scarecrow going on here.
Oh, cool. Area 7.
So I'm still waiting to see when he gets to be as cool as Jack West, because he's not yet.
I mean, that happened in the very first book when he took on aliens and killer whales. And
I'm sorry. Did he stick his arm in flowing lava and get a metallic, full-on cable arm while also solving an Indiana Jones intergalactic threat? No, he didn't.
No,
he absolutely didn't.
Riley wasn't ripping off everything under the sun at this point yet. It's not until the third Scarecrow book that he rips off Boba Fett and finally just says, screw it. I'm just going to rewrite these characters.
Well, this is where I know Book's going to come back, right? Book is going to be alive again.
That's the second book, I believe. So
because you said that
Area 7 is Utah, the football, the president, the nuclear codes, and that stuff. So
by the way, we might have to do a special. Right, but it's Book. Junior. You said.
Yeah. I think it says in the book. Like if you read the back first, that gives you the notes. I think he comes out and says in the book, like I think he does a Q&A or something in the back of that book, and says why he did it.
I might have to on Writing Area 7. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. But I know you told me that before.
He just comes out and says, "Yeah, I killed everybody, and I killed a character I probably shouldn't have killed." So
all right, everybody. I think we are gonna need to do a special Bag It or Slab It when you finally watch Interceptor, because oh my god, it's so bad.
Is it really?
So bad.
Oh,
it is one of those terrible, awful action movies that you and I would sit there and watch and be like, no way. But then as I'm watching it going, yeah, that's a Riley book. He's already on page 20. Here we go.
Have you seen his post where he's like showing it's almost up to 100,000 hours watched or something?
Yeah, even he's like, I don't know how this became the #1 movie in the world on Netflix. And I watched and I went, neither do I. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so cheesy. And it makes me realize, like, I don't want any of his books to be movies, because that's exactly what they'd be like.
Those turned it bad. Chris Hemsworth's got a cameo in it, right?
Yeah, he produced it. And his wife is the star.
Oh, really?
And he's working on a sequel script.
Oh, of course he is. All right. All right, everybody. We're going to cut it there. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks so much. And again, if you ever have any questions or anything, just reach out to us at Comics Cube, a real brick and mortar store located in the beautiful heart of downtown Kokomo, celebrating its 12th year in business. Until the next time, be groovy.